Hello, my name is Catherine Hawes. I'm the author of I Did Not Choose This Adventure, and I would like us to take the next few minutes to talk about how to edit the opening of your story. So when I open a book for the first time, there are always 3 questions that I ask and expect the author to tell me. Number 1, who am I supposed to care about? Where is this story happening? And why should I keep reading? Sometimes writers answer other questions before answering those really important questions. And if there's an info dump that I didn't ask for, then I'm like, why should I keep reading this? So number 1, who am I supposed to care about? Introductions are powerful, and the first impression that you get about a character carries you through. So how do you want the reader to feel about your main character? Answering this question is more important than describing what the character looks like. I could know the hair color, social security number of this character and not care a bit about them. So as a practical tip, grab a book with an opening that you love so that we can study it. It can be helpful to find a book that's in the same genre as yours and notice how that author introduces their main character, how you feel about the main character. Do you feel that they're kind of villainous? Do you feel, oh my goodness, they just saved a puppy? How do you feel about the character from the get-go? And then what questions about the character and the story arise in you when you read it? So, as an example, let's look at one of my favorite openings from Peter Pan. Oh, it's just so good. And this version of it is super pretty. Wonderful illustrations. So, chapter 1. All children except one grow up. They soon know that they will grow up, and the way Wendy knew was this. One day when she was 2 years old, she was playing in a garden, and she plucked another flower and ran with it to her mother. I suppose she must have looked rather delightful, for Mrs. Darling put her hand to her heart and cried, "Oh, why can't you remain like this forever?" This was all that passed between them on the subject, but henceforth Wendy knew that she must grow up. So we learn a lot based on just this short excerpt. We find out that Wendy is our main character, but Wendy is not the mysterious child of the first sentence. All children except one grow up. That except one is not Wendy. That's somebody else. Who is it? Well, we know that it's Peter Pan, but we don't know it yet. And we also learn that Wendy is this sweet little girl. She picks flowers for her mommy. But that first sentence lingers in our minds, and we're like, wait, who is that other child that never grows up? And that is why we should keep reading, because we still have that big question that we want to get answered. Making the reader care about the main character is easier said than done, but it's so important to have that on the first page to keep your reader reading. All right, so big question number 2, where is this happening? Are there dragons? Are we in Brooklyn? Are there horse-drawn carriages or spaceships, or both? The reader does not need a sophomore level education on the history of your orange-skinned half-elves, but we do need to know basically where your story is happening so that we can accurately build the movie in our minds as we're reading it. Because it can be really jolting if the reader is envisioning a world of horse-drawn carriages and such, and then bam, there's a spaceship and cell phones, and it can feel like a bait and switch. So as you are describing your story world, put the 5 senses to your advantage. Describe specific details that alert us to the story environment. So, practical tip, test that opening that you love, or we're gonna look at Peter Pan again, and make note of all the clues that tell us the location of the story. And now look at your own opening and find the clues that talk about the location of your story. How could you incorporate more of the 5 senses to give readers clues of where they are? it can also make the world feel more real to your reader. So in the opening chapter of Peter Pan, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but pull out different details. We're not told the exact year or that we are in England, but we have clues. The dialogue, the mention of gentlemen and a cab, Napoleon, and a checkbook with the British spelling of the word check. Those give us pretty good clues that Wendy's story is taking place in England sometime after the year 1800. So these little clues ground the story in a realistic setting, but we also know that there's gonna be some magic because there's one child that doesn't grow up. If we have a character that we care about and a story world that we feel grounded in and feel that we grasp, then we're asking, why should we keep reading? Why do people read fiction? Okay, that's a really big question. But the answer boils down to curiosity. That's what keeps the pages turning. And what fuels our curiosity? Questions. Intriguing questions with the promise of juicy answers. So once the reader knows who to care about and where the story is happening, then they're ready to be dazzled by the little breadcrumbs that you drop en route to the big boom magical thing of your story. So practical tip, exercise. Jot down the questions that in that opening you love, or in Peter Pan. What questions are you asking as you read the opening? Who is this kid? Why doesn't he grow up? How is this possible? Where does he live? What is his life like? And is he the only one? Why is he the only one? Questions like this are enticing enough for us to keep reading to find out the answers. And now take a look at your opening and jot down the questions that you think your reader will be asking. Now, a really important next step that could feel scary, but it's really important, is ask a trusted friend to read your opening. Have them jot down the questions that they're asking so that you can see if they are asking the questions you want them to ask. And don't correct them and tell them what questions they should be asking. This is a good exercise for you to look through the eyes of somebody else to see your story at a distance so that you can edit your opening to craft it to help your reader along. So the opening of your story creates a really important first impression for your reader. If they find a character that they're intrigued about in a story world that's interesting, and they are asking curious questions that they need answers for, then they will ask the most important question that a reader can ask: what happens next? I hope that this exercise was helpful, and I wish you well as you edit the opening of your story. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and ciao for now.